All right, I think we're good to go. This is going to be the training on members and on officers um, in Wolfpack Connect. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, there we go. And I should probably also just throw this over here just in case somebody does come in. There we go. All right, so this is the Test Group Club's mini edition group dashboard. Like many of you would notice or see, similar to your groups. Today, with members or officers, I have both of these two tabs open because they're the most recent ones. But I will show a couple different things here. Again, I always ask, I always not ask, recommend that you pop this left side navigation pane out, as it will show you more of the specific options or you know, things that you can do with these features, right? So, and specifically why I bring this up right now is because of where we're gonna first start, right? I think we're just first start with officers, right? As an officer right now, you're an officer, you will be listed in this tile, right? Where you find officers is a little bit different than where you'd find members, right? So in general, right, all of the main things, the main left side navigation, right, is going to look like this for everybody's stuff, right? Officers doesn't show up on this if you notice, right? So officers actually lives within the dashboard part, that section, and that's where I say it's always good to have this pop out, the left side navigation pane pop out, because you're going to see that as a subsection in dashboard, you have officers right here listed, right? With the number of how many officers there are, right? Very easy and simple in that way, right? So again, clicking on this, or by clicking on this, it will take you to the same spot. And when we open that up, it will be the house and the location for all of the officers that reside in this group, right? So, and there's a lot of different things in here, and I know I've kind of touched base with them in previous trainings in the past, and I might dip into some of that information, but I a little bit of it is just playing around and seeing how it goes, right? So if you have all of these officers listed in here, and as a reminder for clubs, right, you're supposed to have two officers that are students, or two students, right? That are that one is at minimum, one's the president, one's the treasurer, right? And then at least one staff member who's the advisor. You can have multiple advisors, like a co-advisor, right? But you have to always have at least one, right? That is the main requirement, and we'll get into that requirement section with members here in a second as well. So again, with officers, all right, so you're going to see all of this information with filters, past officers, the different types of positions. I think in general, you're going to see this a lot where you can filter out and search for a lot of different information, right? So if you had wanted to see who was the president, you could just by selecting that, right? And it would show that, right? But we don't have that, right? So, and right now, as you see, because we don't have anyone listed as an officer, no one's showing up. So it isn't until we actually list them, right? So you can list on anybody's thing, right? You can list that position. I'm going to first show you how you can add your officer right here. You're going to go over to the right hand side and click on that brown add officer button. It's then going to ask you to type in a name, and the autocomplete will start to show you the suggestions, right? So for the sake of this, let's use my student one. So I'm just going to type in Sean Green. As you can see, it pops up the suggestions. I'm going to select that, right? If you're selecting more than one officer at a time, just keep typing, right? So let's do Sean Green again, right? And now you can see that every time I do that, right? Alexander, I don't know, I'm just typing a name here. It's probably going to give so much. Let's just type in David Smith. Um, David Smith, right? It's just going to keep adding, right? So if you're just doing one, don't worry about it. Select it and then hit add, right? But if you're adding more than one, you want to make sure that you just keep typing and always look for that cursor. If that cursor is blinking like that, that means you're good to type. So we're just going to add the one in right now. I never notify anyone by email. I usually let them know, right? And we're not really doing any of that. And you might not even see that depending on your permissions. I'm maybe only see that because I'm an admin. We're going to hit add, and now that should, there you go, pop up the profile, right? So I've done this training before, and because I've done that before, it's obviously pulling that past position in for my student account, right? But yeah, you would just have it basically be blank like that, and then uh, some bits of information, right? Who it is, the type of account type, right? Student, staff, what have you, right? The email address, the bio, right? So I put down, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. And then we go over to position, right? This is where you select that position, a drop down. If you have a custom position, right? Sometimes there is custom positions, and I have an example right here, right? A communications coordinator, right? So there's a custom position. It's like communications coordinator. I also make sure that officer is selected though, right? Because we want to make sure that we are. If you don't have that selected, then when the reports get pulled, right? And information gets pulled, the tracking for the incentive program gets pulled, it's not going to accurately show up correctly and give you the points for the incentive program or show up on our end with the data of who's actually an officer and who's not, right? So it may end up showing that not enough officers are, a group because that's not selected correctly. So even if you use a custom position, make sure that you have officers selected in that case, right? So if you want to create that position, as you can see right here, right, create new custom position, a sub window pops up, type whatever you want, hit save, and then you'll be able to select it then from that drop down in custom position. Role, this describes the role, like this is a general officer position, right? And then I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Um, this is the Sean Green student bio, and there's that. And then we have the next bit here, which is we want to make sure that we have an active officer. We want to make sure you set as an active officer. So, I mean, you have to be an active officer. I meant to say though that we need to know who's the main contact, right? Because when we're looking, and I will try to show that here in a second by going students and to the Wolfpack Connect. We go to groups. As you can see here, we have the contact information, right? So we need to make sure that we have the right contact information selected to be able to make sure that if a student wants to potentially join and they need to contact you, say it's a closed, say your group is a closed group, right? This way they can be able to contact you and join, right? So there's that. And so going back to that though, we look at we want to make sure that someone is at least main contact, at least an advisor, and maybe the president or whomever. It's okay to have as many as you want. You see how it shows up, and then visible publicly, right? So this is on the group page again, which I'm going to show you in a second, so you can see the role and the bio information, right? Um, and if you wanted to say delete, right? Or have specific information like uh, the send password you probably wouldn't see, but any private notes between the officers or look at all of the position history in the past, right? And as you can see, this will show all that position history, right? Um, you can do that, right? If you wanted to delete the officer, you select them uh, and go to delete, right? You can also use that very handily for being able to generate a report which pops up as an Excel document, or you can use it to email officers. If you click on email officers, it will take you to the email section. So just know that. You can also, and I believe you can do this. This depends on if you have the admin privileges or not. You can click on permissions and view the permissions for every single officer and be able to select who gets what positions, right? So if somebody is not meant to be emailing individuals, you can select it so that they can, right? Um, that's basically what this is. Same thing with, I believe, with notifications, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So you could do that same thing. See who gets what sort of notifications, and whether it's through the web browser, email, or the mobile app, right? So it's pretty nifty in that sense too. So now if we look at that group page though, we can see some of the things that I was showing you about where we place things, right? So um, on here, when it's a view publicly, right? Like that's going to show here. It would also show on the test group club. But along the top here, right, we want to click on officers, and here you can see. So again, this is showing the custom position, just like it would show the regular position. Um, this is our bio, right? And this is the general info about the type of position, right? Right. Um, so we look at here, you know, advisor to student senate, right? Which is the bio right here, right? Which is nice, right? That it shows up. Um, but as you can see, it just depends on how you want it to look. I think it looks nice to have just putting it in the bio section. So we go back to manage right there. And then we can go officers. We could have, by the way, we could have gone officers and hit manage officers. That would have done the same thing, except probably it's that slight bit faster. And then, yeah, so as you can see, I just think it looks better to put it right here in the bio section. Um, but it's up to you, completely up to you. So that's what officers looks like, right? So there's a lot of things you can do. But yeah, it's just being comfortable with it, right? So if we look at members now, members is going to look the same way. This is also going to include all of our officers, right? And since we only have officers, no, I guess we have one student in here, Mitch. Interesting. But Mitch must have been in here for some reason. So yes, if you have all of your officers, all of your members, and that includes your officers, you can be able to view everyone, do the same things, right? Select everyone, send an email, or send a notification, which just sends a little pop-up notification um, to their device. You could also generate the report. You could do a lot of things to this. Add them to an event, assign an end date to the membership, right? So if everyone's going to be done at the end of the year, you can assign an end date to them for that, right? Um, this one we're not going to touch just because we don't use that feature, honestly. You can add a member tag, right? So right now you're seeing the user tags, which you're only seeing those because I have of the admin privileges. But if you had member tags right here, right? So member tag one, member tag two, right? You could be able to do that, right? So, selecting or removing the member tag. If you had unvalidated members, right? So if someone wants to be a member of a group, but they hit join, it's going to ask them to get validated first, right? So you'll see a little pop-up window right here that say X amount of members pending validation. In blue, you would be able to select once you click into that screen and hit validate member. You can change how you want them to do. If you want to make all these officers just members, you can do that. You can also assign a checklist or unassign a checklist to them. So you could do quite a lot, right? With these. But if you don't want to do it everyone at once, again, you can make, specific decisions, right? On these, right? And be able to list them. You can also do it with sub tags, right? So subgroup tag one, two, right? You can basically do so much with these, right? And then that's how you can, if you want to only then select anyone who's got round trip, right? Now you can do that, or anyone who's got metro, you can do that. I highly recommend sometimes, right? If you have active membership, you could use that as a way to say this is an active member, right? So you can make sure you're sending out to all your active members, or it's how it allows you to be able to categorize your membership to make it easier to really communicate with them, right? Um, is my best way. As you saw, again, like I've said with everything else, there's so many filtering options to view your membership differently. I don't remember fully what this looks. Okay, so it looks similar to the email screen when you get to the step three or whatever, um, and you see how the breakdown of your membership looks. This also takes you then to a link to sign up for your group if you want, right? So as you see right there. Um, but again, under members, you see all those things, right? Current members, past members, right? Don't have any contacts, don't have any of those, but we can in other groups, right? Um, if you were going to bulk upload membership, but I highly suggest that you don't do that unless you know how, which would be coming to see me, and that you can make sure your membership is updated without having to do this potentially. But if you had a custom field, like if you wanted to get some specific information from them, you could ask for that by creating a custom field, and then like what is you know what is your favorite color, right? And then it would have a spot in there that would ask for that, or not what is, just says favorite color, like let's see, favorite color text. No, officer only, no, public, no, read only. Hit, let's just do that. Now, if I looked, see if I can find this. I know it's somewhere on here. Hmm. Oh, so yeah, I know it's gonna pop up there. I'm just looking for the spot where it might show you where you can answer that question. But yeah, so you can have those custom fields. It might ask you to view your profile. Um, nope, it doesn't do that either. So stop sharing that. So that's a good one that I gotta come back to you on. Maybe I think it test. We'll see what happens with that. I'm also unsubscribed from email, so I'm not gonna screw around with that right now. Um, and you can also see all the custom positions that were created, right? So you can also create membership positions, right? As well, right? So test, hit that, save that. There's a member position called, right? So looking at current members, I can select if I had more weight, I could maybe make this Mitch guy, I could change his position to test. So I could do that, right? So you can actually you know, active member. Do that, right? And then current members. And then you could go down and there. Now he's listed as an active member, right? So that's something to look at. That's kind of interesting. Nice little, I'm gonna move that over there. So your active member, right? So pretty cool. So there's that. And then yeah, I mean, again, we're not gonna have a lot of extra things on here, but you can do a lot, right? If you're looking for things, even you want to paste information like the emails down. You can search members if you have a bunch of members. You can do that. Um, and yeah, I will show a version of this maybe with the executive leadership team, right? So this is how we might have a lot more. We might have some. So right now I have people listed, right, as a specific type, right? Um, but like let's take a look at the contacts. I'm sorry. Probably have a bunch of contacts in here, right? So just either they, 140 contacts. How? Well, they answered a survey or forum, received an email, um, just random things, right? Um, but they all did somehow, and that's going to happen, right? But that they're not technically members, they're just contacts. So there's somebody that has basically stumbled upon or received something from you from the group, but they're not technically a member because again they've not asked to join. Um, because if they had, it would say ask for validation, right? To pending validation, but they have some sort of connection to the group, which allows you to be able to contact them and potentially make them a member of the group, right? So it's it's beneficial. So yeah, that is that. I think though that um and as you can see, I have everybody listed by their specific type, right? So if I wanted to get, specific things, right, I can say, oh, that's an advisor, who's who, right? I can really get that really linked in. But if I look at my officers, right, there's my officers, right? I can and if I look at my group page, right, I can see in here that if I go to the officers, right, I have down here LinkedIn. And as you saw, I don't have everybody listed as being publicly being able to view, right? Intentionally, right? Um, so yeah, you could do so much with this, right? And allows you to really customize it. And I think that that is probably a good place to probably stop. This is going to be a short one today. Um, sometimes we just don't always have that, a lot of things. But yeah, if you have any questions, always email the clubs at madisoncollege.edu, um, and or reach out to me personally, and I'm here. So, all right, thank you very much, and you have a great rest of your day.